Hello there and welcome to the Richie Allen television show in association with BeyondVision.tv and DavidIke.com. My name is Richie Allen and it's a real pleasure to be back with you again after a break of 5 or 6 weeks. We are back with Season 3, Episode 1 of the television show, and I'm really thrilled that we're doing Season 3, that I've been invited back to do it, and I'm not being disingenuous, I really am delighted. You know what the programme is all about? We break down the week's big news stories. We take a look at what the mainstream media isn't telling you about those stories. Today is Friday, April the 22nd, and I want to say a big, huge hello and welcome back to my mate Hayden Hewitt from liveleak.com and BVTV. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing the best I can with a very naughty mouse.
You're struggling. we must say two things. We record this as live,
yes,
because we don't have access to, well, we've got lovely equipment, but we don't have access to dozens of producers and editors. We just do it live, and you're having a mouse problem.
We're having a meese problem.
A meese problem. Several meese haven't worked.
So any large banging noises off camera, it's me fixing.
That's okay. It gives us the live feel. I must confess, by the way, that despite all the preparation and all the anticipation about starting Season 3, Episode 1, I only went and wore the wrong T-shirt, didn't I? Can you see that there? I wore a T-shirt today with a load of green in it, like the absolute muppet that I am. So I'm wearing a back-to-front T-shirt. I look like an extra from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, or at least that's what I've been told anyway. Bev, who kind of runs things at BVTV, lied to my face and said, "You look fine, Richie." That's what people do. They lie to your face. It's great to have you, mate. You're going to be jumping in regularly. I want to hear you. Don't wait to be invited. Jump in. So, coming up on the programme, the Nazi roots of the European Union. Sounds very sensational, doesn't it? It ain't. We'll be talking about that. Later on, we're going to talk about the disgusting antics of some quarters of the independent media and the lengths they will go to get you to visit their websites to basically be told a whole load of crap. We'll get into that a bit later on as well. The European Union, former Treasury Secretaries in the United States, loads we'll get into. But first of all, we're going to have a look at two big stories today. Big story number one, the death of Prince. Now, I learned that Prince passed away yesterday, aged 57. He was 57 when he died. It's still not clear why or how Prince died. Apparently, in the last couple of weeks, he had been complaining of being unwell. And at a recent concert, he had said to the audience, "Don't worry, don't pray for me. I'm doing okay." But he seems to have been ill and passed away. I didn't really get into Prince when I was a teenager, which is when I kind of should have gotten into him. When I was doing late night radio at Waterford Local Radio in Ireland, doing the graveyard shifts between 2 a.m. and 7 a.m, which is an amazing undertaking for any young presenter, but I used to do it. The playlists, which we had to stick to, religiously, often had Prince's songs in there. And I got to love his music. I really came to love it and bought the back catalogue and all the albums. Shamefully never got to see him live. But he was an absolute genius. This was a genius. A man who could play nearly 30 instruments really well. Acclaimed as one of the great guitarists. I think Eric Clapton said, "Don't ask me about who the best guitar player in the world is, ask Prince." Really interesting guy. And I was a bit sad to hear that yesterday. He was interested in the independent media. And he was interested in David Icke. I'll tell you more about that in a minute, and others. But a few years ago on a late night television show, he raised the spectre of geoengineering and chemtrails.
He said something that really hit home about this phenomena of chemtrails. And, when I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time. And so that's cool. A jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why. Okay? And you really didn't know why. I mean, everybody was fighting. So he started riffing about the chemtrails. And he started to say things that hit home so hard. And I would recommend that everybody try to get what he said online or wherever and try to get a copy of it and just listen to it.
So that was Prince there. What's fascinating about that is back in 2007, Prince did a series of concerts in London at the O2 Arena. And he invited David Icke, of course, big supporter of this programme and my radio show, to come and see him. And they had a fascinating conversation after the gig. And it turned out that Prince is very interested in a lot of the themes explored in David's books and in other books as well by other researchers. Interesting guy. As you'd expect with the independent media, with some of it being the way some of it is, some rather foolish things have been written about Prince and about why he might have died and stuff like that. The chap was ill. And Hayden, I believe, just before the end of his most recent concert, he said, wait a few days before praying for me, giving us the idea that he wasn't well for a while.
Yeah, he just said, don't waste your prayers on me, at least for a few days. Something along that. So he clearly knew he was unwell, to say the least.
Yeah. Not your type of music, but undoubtedly you, being a musician yourself, you admire that sort of genius.
You have to respect anyone that's a real musician.
Yeah.
You have to respect their ability and their accomplishments, and he was a very, very accomplished and good musician.
Very funny story about Prince Hayden. You might have heard this. You've been involved in music and television and films yourself. But Sinead O'Connor, as you know, had a huge hit with Nothing Compares to You, which Prince wrote. It made Sinead O'Connor, let's be honest about it. But he didn't appreciate her use of profanity when she was being interviewed and stuff like that. Now, you'll find this interesting, although you've never profaned anywhere, apparently.
I don't swear.
Allegedly. But he called her over to his house. Now, he had nothing to do with the production of her version of Nothing Compares to You, but he wanted to give her a piece of his mind. Apparently a lot of drink was taken and they came to blows and they had a full-on bitch fight. This is apparently true. Prince and Sinead O'Connor. Now, I'm no celebrity whore. I'm not interested in celebrity or anything like that. I would have paid money to see that.
Absolutely. And he's only a wee man.
And Sinead O'Connor, not much of her in it then either. A slip of a girl. But she was a fighter.
Crazy power, you see.
Crazy power, yeah. That would have been funny, yeah.
No, that would have been fun to watch.
That would have been fun to watch. So rest in peace, Prince. And the other big story today, which Hayden is going to put on the screen now, is Barack Obama inserting himself into the in-out EU referendum. Basically, he's written an article for The Telegraph. Nothing is working, Hayden. This phone thing I've got here, it's working now. It's one of those days. It's post-holiday blues. First day back after holidays, or first day of term blues. So the story is that Obama has urged Britain to stay in the EU, saying that the sacrifice of America's soldiers during the Second World War means that America has a stake in the referendum. He's written exclusively for The Telegraph. If you want to go on to telegraph.co.uk, you can read the entire story. He uses the article to warn that a vote to leave the EU even will leave Britain less able to tackle terrorism, the migration crisis and any economic shocks in the global economy. We'll return to that story shortly. Thanks, Hayden, for that. We'll start the show properly, though, and we've got to mention, well, at least I want to mention anyway, the sickening coverage by the British mainstream press of the Queen turning 90, because as Hayden Hewitt knows very well, the Queen turned 90 yesterday. Now, any number of these funny memes have turned up all over the internet. We've shamelessly stolen several, and we're claiming credit for them. I've described her in my radio shows over the years, even when I was doing straight radio, as the mother of all gangsters, the absolute moll of them all, the greatest of all freeloaders, 90 years on state benefits, hundreds of millions of pounds in the bank, travelled the world on our money, ate the finest foods, by the way, and owns some of the most amazing real estate on planet Earth. But she sacrificed every single day of her life, apparently, for us, Hayden. And Hayden is running some interesting pictures up here of this woman throughout the course of her life. There's an interesting one of her standing over a dead tiger. I'm not going to swear, Hayden. The whole point of this doing this season 3 is because a lot of children are seeing the programme. I'm not joking. I'm being told by a lot of parents that kids are seeing it, so don't swear. It's hard not to swear when you see that. Now, nobody's been more vocal about anti-hunting than you. These are disgusting people, aren't they? Disgusting, despicable people.
They are vile, inbred parasites.
I love it.
And,
I want to get a T-shirt made up saying just that.
They are. That's all they are. We show Benefits Britain on TV to demonise people.
To demonise people.
Like £50-60 a week.
Yeah.
And we're ignoring them because they're better than us.
Because they're better than us. We were going to show a clip of Charles reading some Shakespeare. We're not going to subject you to that today because you don't deserve it. There are times when you will deserve it, and then we will show clips like that. But not today. The media has told us that she's given us every day of her life. What mind control nonsense that is, really, isn't it? To convince people of that. I want you to never forget one thing. And at this point, I'm going to mention a friend of mine, Jean-Anne Crowley. Jean-Anne, hello. Jean-Anne is an actress, not an actor. And she was in some very, very good things over the years. Educating Rita, Tenko, Doctor Who. We could be here all day. Jean-Anne said, always be careful, Richie, when you're talking about this sort of stuff. Look, Queen Elizabeth and her husband, Prince Philip, took 10 native children from the Catholic-run Kamloops Residential School in British Columbia on a picnic on the 10th of October 1964. Some of those children never returned. Their parents and their siblings have been asking questions for years. Now, I'm not an idiot. We are real journalists here. There is no definitive evidence that links them to any harm that may have come to those children. But they were there, and those children were in their care. It not only happened there, but it happened in Australia as well. And I want you to recommend to you the books of Kevin Annett, a former priest who's based in Canada. You will see a lot of YouTube videos allegedly debunking Kevin. They don't debunk him at all. They have serious questions to ask about children going missing. And their son has serious questions to answer about what he knew about the exploits of the record-breaking paedophile Jimmy Savile. I'm not accusing him of anything. You know, if I was a record-breaking paedophile, as an acquaintance of mine, Hayden Hewitt would be questioned about what he knew about me. That's the way the law works. I'm right. It's the way the law works.
And rightly it should.
Yes.
But to be fair,
you wouldn't be suspected of anything, but you knew the guy, Hayden. You worked with him. Anything? Did he say anything? Did he do anything, you know?
To be honest, you can't be... I don't believe for a second you can be close to someone as industriously perverted as Savile is said to have been and not know something was happening. I don't know how you could. The guy must have been at it morning, noon and night.
Yeah, Jeffrey Epstein as well, the Royals connection to him, it goes right to their doorstep. We're definitely going to be returning to that in future programmes. We'll leave the Queen and all that nonsense for now. Sickening to see young children, Hayden, yesterday being brought out with names like Serafina. I swear to Christ, that's as far as it'll go to swearing. They brought children out called Serafina to talk to them what the Queen meant to them, and it was so obviously rehearsed and lines were so obviously learned. Serafina. Nobody calls her.
Do you know, I used to be anti-capital punishment. I'm swinging around. I asked my son about the royal family. His response is...
Hayden Jr. What did he say?
He said, when I am king, when I am a big boy, grown-ups will not be able to tell us what to do anymore.
Get in there.
Good luck, son.
Out of the mouths of babes, eh? So we're going to talk about the European referendum now. You're going to hear a lot about this, of course, on this show. You're going to hear a lot about it on the Live League show. It'll be funnier on the Live League show than it is here, but you will hear some of it. You'll hear a lot about it, of course, on davidicke.com/headlines. So we have this BBC Treasury Secretary story. This is hilarious, this, you know. 8 former Treasury Secretaries have come out and said that Britain should stay in as it's risky to leave the European Union. They say it's a risky bet, basically. That's how they put it in a letter signed by all 8. And Hayden, Downing Street said they had nothing to do with the letter. The 8 Treasury Secretaries came up with it by themselves. One of them allegedly rang around. Let's write a letter. The lies they tell.
First thing, completely irrelevant, I can't help it.
Yeah.
But in your mind, I want you to hum to yourself the theme tune from Reservoir Dogs.
Oh yeah, the George Baker selection.
Ding,
Ding, ding, ding, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Downing Street had nothing to do. Yeah, because these men are known for their independent thought.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yep.
These guys, Michael Blumenthal, Robert Rubin, Lawrence Summers, Timothy Geithner, these are world-class criminals, folks. Henry Paulson, Jon Snow, Paul O'Neill. Regularly, over the years, these are the guys who manipulate the financial crises at the behest of the Rockefellers, the Warburgs, and the Rothschilds, and that isn't conspiracy theory. That's fact. I'm going to be getting into that with some of you. With you shortly when we talk about the Nazi roots of the EU. They were sitting around doing nothing, just chilling, and they thought, well, let's write a letter about the European Union. They are Rothschild, Rockefeller, and Warburg puppets, of course. We do have a response from Boris Johnson. This is telling. This is Bojo.
I'm very happy for anybody to say whatever they like about Brexit. I just think it paradoxical that the United States, which wouldn't dream of allowing the slightest infringement of its own sovereignty, should be lecturing other countries about the need to enmesh themselves ever deeper in a federal superstate. And so that's the paradox to which I'm drawing attention.
Yeah, I did say Bojo for a reason. We'll talk about him and Gove and Fallon and the rest of them, and why not Gove. There's such a bunch of cretins, I can't even remember. I know Grayling and Gove are for out. Fallon is for staying in, is he? I don't know. It's all a pack of lies. This we lose out on trade. I've debunked that on every radio show I've done for the last 2 weeks. Over the last 4 decades, Britain's trade with EU member states hasn't grown at all. It's at 60% now, Hayden, and it was 60% back in 1973. This was the basis on which the EU lie was sold to the British people. Britain's trade with non-EU member states in Europe has actually grown over the 4 decades. This is the truth, not conjecture. It's not a study that I've conveniently grabbed out because it suits my argument. It's a fact. The Swiss and the Norwegians, for example, regularly negotiate favourable trade deals for themselves. They don't have to get consensus. When Britain wants to negotiate a trade deal with anybody else, it cannot negotiate that until everybody else signs off on it. So right now, for example, Britain can't do trade deals with states in the bloc unless all the other members sign off. You want in on this? You look like you got a puss on you there. You've got something to say.
I just get so annoyed when I think about this. I just get really grumpy.
The lies.
And, just the lies, the deceit.
Yeah.
The whole thing that we know that one way or another they're going to do everything in their power to keep us in Europe.
Brilliant. Make these guys the official Leave campaign. This is tyrannical. Because these guys are not going to talk about this, which we're going to be talking about shortly, by the way. Right?
I've said on my radio show and other shows and everywhere online, it's killing me that I have to align myself. I can't even say. Yeah. Boris Johnson and George Galloway. Bojo. And
the cocaine sniffer.
Goga.
Yeah, and Goga, yeah, for Brexit.
It just disgusts me that I have to align myself with... No, I'll align myself with these people. But what choices do you have?
You have none. And this was brilliantly put by a guy on RT the other day who's one of the big trade union guys, Hayden. And he said, basically, they're controlling both sides of the argument. Because Johnson has said, I'll renegotiate us back in from an out position on more favourable terms. It's the first day back. I did see that. That's okay.
Nothing is working.
Nothing is working, but we're going to play on because we are professionals.
We
are the Bodie and Dial, that's us.
We're the next best thing to professionals in this room at this moment.
At this time. Nobody understands Bodie and Dial, the reference either, by the way. Maybe you've got to be over 50, don't you, to get that. Here we go then. This is the truth, okay? I pride myself on when something is my opinion or conjecture telling you that it's opinion and conjecture. What I'm going to tell you now is the undisputed truth. The European Union was funded and founded, I've obviously made some notes, by the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, and some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world. Criminals. The same criminals started the First and Second World Wars, funded the Nazis, and actually wanted the Nazis to win. Because when the Nazis won, they would have owned post-war Europe, and these companies would then own the world's natural resources. Not conspiracy theory, it's all true. And there is a wealth of historic documentary evidence to back it all up. This is a book that came out 2010 by the Rath Foundation. Paul Anthony Taylor, Alexandra Niedzwiecki, Matthias Rath and August Kowalczyk August Kowalczyk's a Jewish man who was tortured and interned at Auschwitz, by the way. It's a book that is now being distributed by a man called Derek Hyde. And it's got all the documentary evidence, it's got all the photographs of all the documents to prove that IG Farben, the cartel made up of Bayer, by Bass, by Hoechst and by others, created the Second World War in order to, not because they, had any particular love for Hitler and who Hitler was and the Third Reich, but basically to own post-World War II Europe and ultimately the world, so that they could steal every natural resource on the planet. I interviewed Derek on the radio the other night. I'm going to play a couple of clips from that. This is the first one. Listen very carefully to this.
The sponsors of this was a huge conglomerate called IG Farben, a German company that was at that time the biggest petro-pharmaceutical company in the world, closely followed by the Rockefeller Foundation in the United States of America. What's interesting here is that these were the main funders of World War II. And what is interesting here is that AG Farben had shares in the Rockefeller setup in the US, and Rockefeller had shares of similar value in IG Farben in Germany.
Now, IG Farben was a cartel which was made up of massive companies like Bayer, like Bass, like Hoechst, and many others. Massive company, right?
Massive.
Yeah.
What's interesting is if we look at this, and this is very important to look at the money. This is the money side of it. If we look at this setup, which is the petrochemical and the pharmaceutical industry, if we look at it today, not only is it a lot bigger than it was during the time when they were carrying out, this globalization to take over the world, which was through first they tried it with World War I, that failed. Second attempt was World War II. That also failed. Fortunately, it failed.
They funded the Nazis. Now, this is seriously important. This cartel, this IG Farben cartel of massive, wealthiest companies in the world and the Rockefellers, they wanted the Nazis to succeed, didn't they?
They funded it.
Of course, that's right. Yeah. There isn't a history book in Europe or in the United States or in the world that will talk to you about some of the themes in that book, The Nazi Roots of the Brussels EU, all of which are true even. It was deliberately created to create a centralised power. Didn't matter to them who ran the world. Remember Mayor Amschel Rothschild in the 1860s. I don't care who makes the laws of a nation. And of course he meant ultimately the laws of the world, so long as I control the money supply. Didn't matter to these people. These guys controlled Hitler. They did. We've gotten into on this programme previously about how the Bush family and the DuPonts and all these major connected families in America supported and funded Hitler. IBM, for example. Again, we could be here all day. Listen to more from Derek Hyde.
Conquest, right? And they saw in him the very man, the very villain, the very criminal mind that they needed to carry out their dastardly deeds, which was world control. And of course, what they did, they had a meeting with Hitler. This is well documented. They had a meeting with Hitler, and they said to him, we have the means to bring you into office. And if you do so, then we want this, and what we want to do is to take over the world, and we want the spoils.
We want the spoils of the world. That's what it was all about. The first president of the European Union Commission, Walter Hallstein, was a Nazi. He was a lawyer for the Nazis, right there. David Icke wrote about this 20 years ago in a book called And the Truth Shall Set You Free, and he further expanded on it in a book called The Biggest Secret. Like I said, you'll never read about this in any history books. This is what they must keep secret. And this is what Boris Johnson, Nigel Farage, and all the other Vote Leave people, George Galloway, will never tell you. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. The European Union is made up of 54,000 bureaucrats, unelected bureaucrats, who basically take directives from these people and hand those directives and those laws to the 750 odd members of European Parliament who you do get to vote for, but who have absolutely no power whatsoever. This is the European Union. It's a tyranny. And it's all about the centralisation of power, because you cannot control the many if we are all sovereign citizens of sovereign countries. You can't do that. Got to centralise power. You can't get TTIP through without having the European Union. Right? And in 1933, while these criminals were backing the madman Hitler, who would go on to persecute the sick, the disabled, who would go on to plot to burn and to murder every Jewish man and woman, every gypsy and anybody else who wasn't blonde and blue-eyed in Germany. While they were funding that, they were also plotting to overthrow Franklin D. Roosevelt in the United States. The same people. We know this because they tried to recruit the US's most decorated soldier of all time, a man called General Smedley Butler.
I appeared before the Congressional Committee, the highest representation of the American people, under subpoena to tell what I knew of activities which I believe might lead to an attempt to set up a fascist dictatorship. The plan as outlined to me was to form an organization of veterans, to use as a bluff, or as a club at least, to intimidate the government and break down our democratic institutions. The upshot of the whole thing was that I was supposed to lead an organization of 500,000 men, which would be able to take over the functions of government. I talked with an investigator for this committee who came to me with a subpoena on Sunday, November 18th. He told me they had unearthed evidence linking my name with several such veteran organizations. As it then seemed to me to be getting serious, I felt it was my duty to tell all I knew of such activities to this committee. My main interest in all this is to preserve our democratic institutions. I want to retain the right to vote, the right to speak freely, and the right to write. If we maintain these basic principles, our democracy is safe. No dictatorship can exist with suffrage, freedom of speech, and press.
So while these people, as I said, were trying to bring tyranny to Europe and to bring a Nazi Europe, which is what they tried to do, they were also trying to overthrow Franklin D. Roosevelt in the United States, as we've seen there. So they failed to gain the order out of chaos that they wanted for their new world order through 2 global wars. So they turned to the centralisation of power by creating the United States of Europe. Because that way they can plant trade deals, TTIP, etc., centralised legislation. As I said already, I'm only repeating myself because it's important. You can't do that with independent sovereign states, states which make the best choices and pass legislation to suit its own ends. Can't do it. And I want to mention this before we look at the Vote Leave team again, before we do that. Some of the independent media is full of Jew-hating, I won't use the word anti-Semite because you know what the word Semite really means, but racist scumbags. And they don't understand this. And when you talk about this, they jump down your throat and they say that you're a Zionist shill. It was a Jewish conspiracy. The Jews wanted to do it. It was a Zionist and it was a banking conspiracy. That's what it is. Okay? So whether Rothschild or Rockefeller or Warburg, doesn't matter. It wasn't a Jewish conspiracy. It was a globalist banking conspiracy. A Zionist conspiracy. As David has been writing about in his books for years and years and years. I have no time for the racist idiots who don't understand any of this. I really don't. And as for the bevy of beauties, Chris Grayling and Michael Gove and the Muppet Boris Johnson, and why they were deliberately chosen to lead the Vote Leave campaign, they have been because they'll never tell you what I've just told you. They'll never tell you what David has been saying for 2 decades, and they know this, so they control the opposition as well. And they'll certainly never tell you about the contents of that book there, and how a Nazi was the first president of the EU Commission, and how the whole principle of the European Union was founded, and its roots are in Nazism. We're going to take a break. This is the Richie Allen television show in association with BeyondVision.tv and DavidIke.com. Back in a couple of minutes.
Attention small business owner, when is a box more than just a box? No! No! Oh no, that's just weird. A box is more than just a box when it can give you a couple of extra hours in bed, or at the very least some time to do something more fun and or productive than bookkeeping. Just bang all your paperwork in a box and we'll take care of the rest. Accounts Direct. Accountants on your side.
Welcome back to the Richie Allen television show in association with DavidIke.com and BeyondVision.tv. This is episode 1 of season 3. Delighted to be back, really am. A couple of quick shout outs now. First of all to liveleak.com. Fantastic website. It's one of the most important websites in the world. Free access there to information that you will not see on the mainstream media. Videos from war zones, from Syria, from Libya, from all over the world. Brilliant stuff. The Live Leak radio show, the Live Leak television show is every Thursday around about 9 p.m. British summertime. That's good, right? Time has changed. It's a terrific show. I recommend it highly. Check out DavidIke.com as well. David is beginning the Worldwide Wake Up Tour. That's beginning in June in Shepherd's Bush. In fact, there's a warm-up event on the Isle of Wight before that. Those two particular events are sold out, but he's all over the world, America, Australia, Europe. Check out DavidIke.com for all the details. And again, huge thanks to David for his support of the independent media and of my programme as well. And please do check out my radio show. It's live every Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. BST, and it's live on Sunday mornings as well at 11 a.m. BST. So it's live 5 days a week. All the details at richieallen.co.uk. Thanks for listening to the radio show. We enjoy it. We enjoy making it, and at the moment it's doing quite well. A lot of people are listening to it, which we're very proud of. So check out our broadcast partners. And BeyondVision.tv is an amazing charity. It's going to be doing amazing things. It really is. And I am looking forward to telling you more about that in the coming weeks. A couple of really good shows in the bag, in the can, that are being made regularly. That's our show there. We have our own page. We're delighted with that. BeyondVision.tv. These charming fans with the hilariously funny Colin Manford, who recently got engaged. You muppet. Congratulations, Colin. Congratulations, mate. He's a top comic based in Manchester, from a family of famous comics as well, it must be said. So let's move on. The families of those who died on 9/11 want to see the 28 pages of the 9/11 Commission report that were redacted and kept away from the public. They want those pages. They want to see them. But they also believe that those pages show that the Saudi Arabian government, or the Saudi Arabian regime, because they love that word in America, regime, for anybody else except their friends. But the families believe that the Saudi Arabian regime may have supported the hijackers. This is a good report from RT.
On Wednesday, Barack Obama and the US Defense Secretary will be discussing anti-terrorism efforts with Saudi Arabia's top officials. But Obama's trip comes at a time when voices within the US are growing louder. They're demanding the release of a classified 9/11 report. Those pages reportedly reveal more on Saudi Arabia's involvement in the attacks, which were mostly carried out by Saudi nationals. One of the co-authors of the initial congressional report says the pages point to those who supported the attackers.
I believe that support came from Saudi Arabia.
Substantially.
And when we say the Saudis, you mean the government? Rich people in the country, charities?
All of the above.
All of the above. Listen, when the towers came down, when everybody else was grounded, I was grounded. I was going to fly out there to do some reporting myself. The US government couldn't get the Bin Laden family out of there quick enough. You'd have thought that was pretty strange, considering, they were Saudi. They were connected to the Saudi royals. And obviously they were connected to Osama, who was living in a cave in Kabul at the time, apparently, on dialysis, while he was orchestrating the whole thing. So you'd have thought they would have wanted to speak to the Bin Ladens. They didn't. So should the victims' families be allowed to sue the Saudis if they were involved? Yeah? You'd have thought so, right? Obama says no. Have a look at this.
If we open up the possibility that individuals in the United States can routinely start suing other governments, then we are also opening up the United States to being continually sued by individuals in other countries.
Well, all I
Some 9/11 family members are outraged the president is going along with Saudi Arabia, which is warning that it will sell off hundreds of billions of dollars worth of American assets if this bill passes. Experts aren't sure that's a credible threat.
We'd be wide open to being sued, says Barry Obama. So we can't allow US citizens sue the Saudis if they had anything to do with the attacks. Now, I believe a lot of people had a lot to do with the attacks. I still don't know how the buildings came down for a fact. I just know that the official story is a pack of lies, because those who wrote the 9/11 Commission report said afterwards that it was a pack of lies. I'm not making that up either. Thomas Keane. Read about Thomas Keane. It was set up to fail, he said. I mean, you just want to start ranting when Obama says, no, we'd be wide open to being sued as well. The hypocrisy of that, because on the same day, the BBC ran this story, which I'm going to read for you now while Hayden scrolls up and down it. The US Supreme Court is allowing the families of victims of a 1983 bombing in Beirut and other terror attacks to collect nearly $2 billion in frozen Iranian assets. The court ruled in favour of more than 1,300 relatives of the 241 Americans killed at a US Marine barracks. The government, the US government, believes that the Lebanese Shia Islamist movement Hezbollah, which is backed by Iran, was responsible for that attack in 1983. Hezbollah and Iran have denied any involvement. The Iranian Central Bank, Bank Markazi, not owned by the Rothschilds or the Rockefellers or the Warburgs, by the way, tried to defy court orders demanding payment for losses. It opposes the law that directs that its US assets be turned over to the families. The bombings of the US Embassy and the US Marine Barracks, both in 1983, are believed to have been carried out by Hezbollah, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to swear, I'm not going to shout. I'm going to bring in my good friend Hayden Hewitt. If those affected by the actions of the governments and the militaries of other countries were to start suing countries for reparations, we would be here till the year 6,965 dealing with the United States, right?
Absolutely. Well, no, just the United Kingdom.
And us.
Oh,
us, because I'm here. I'm
like
Irish. We never did anything to anybody.
With great pride, there's not a beach in the world we haven't rolled up and stabbed everybody on.
No. There's not a tribe we haven't defiled.
Of course.
There are not...
Brought democracy to.
Brought democracy to.
Let's get it straight. Defiled is a strong word. Did we not send missionaries so that we can have their souls as well? I'm very surprised that they've not gone the route of, sue them. We're not going to let anyone sue any of us, so just sue them. I'm not sure. How can you stop someone suing another government? Or do you need your government to act on your behalf? I'm not sure how it works. Never having tried to sue a government, I'm not sure how it works. And surely I think part of the problem might be, I don't particularly doubt the Saudis' culpability in some way, or the fact that they've got information or knowledge. Well, of course, there's also that fear, isn't there, of where it might go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's
where
the
it might lead.
Lawsuits.
Of course.
They have a habit of doing that.
Because the story doesn't even hang together by a thread, the official story. I'm honest enough to admit, you're honest enough to admit that I don't know exactly what happened, but I know that when Lee Hamilton and Thomas Keane, who wrote the report and who published the book a couple of years later and said it's completely unsound because it's based on a pack of lies, nobody would talk to them. Bush and Cheney would only be interviewed as long as they were allowed to talk at the same time and it wasn't recorded. I mean, we could be here all day long. We're going to talk about Iran because, it's Iranian state assets being frozen. We've got a pic here of Donald Rumsfeld and Saddam Hussein. Over 250,000 Iranians were killed by the United States in the Iran-Iraq war. They weren't, Richie, you're making it up, you're talking through your arse. Yes, by the US, who gave chemical weapons, missiles, and all the bombs in the world, everything they could lay their hands on, to Saddam, to punish Iran for having the temerity to take their country back in 1979. I don't care who the Ayatollah is and how brutal he is. That comes later. And I wanted to talk, Hayden, about the My Lai or the My Lai massacre in March 1968, where US C Company soldiers massacred over 500 men, women and children. Defenseless men, women and children. Nobody has ever been held accountable for that, not properly. No reparations were ever made. Iran, El Salvador, Chile, Laos, the entire Central America, anywhere you want in the world. Look at those pictures of what happened to those children in the My Lai village in March 68. We've got a clip here. That child was dead, by the way. The child being held is dead. The child holding on to him is his brother. Have a look at this video here before I get upset.
I could go back and remember all the sleepless nights that we had. Everything that went on. My life, all the people that were killed here. Every day I try to make it easy. I thought that by drinking that I could make it easy and make it go away. I'd lay down at night, it's still the same thing. Whether I drank, whether I didn't drink, it's still the same thing. Just the memories kept coming back, kept coming back.
I will never forget. When I'm reminded, I suddenly remember the pain. A chapter in the book opens. There is no way I will ever forget. I will never forget.
As far as living with the shame of My Lai, I have no shame. I did what I was supposed to be doing. The shame rests with the politicians and the military, not with me, the other members of Charlie Company, Lieutenant Calley or Captain Medina. The shame lays with them. It's a national shame.
Sorry doesn't put food on the table, does it? You know, I was thinking watching that. I mean, I was born and raised in the Republic of Ireland in Waterford. We were 170, 180 miles away from the border with the 6 counties. We saw all this news all the time about terrorism, about the IRA, the UVF, the British Army, what they were doing in the north. It might as well have been a million miles away, because where we were based, there were Sinn Féin people, friends, family members who supported Sinn Féin, supported republicanism, and we might as well have been a million miles. I was just speaking to Hayden there. What is it like for these people? What must it be like for these people when they read that the Americans are seizing Iranian state assets to the tune of £2 billion to pay back for 133 soldiers who were killed in Beirut back in 1983? I would urge every man, woman and child who's been in a country that has been carpet bombed into oblivion, into the Stone Age by these people, to start writing to the State Department in Washington DC and naming your price for what happened to you and to your country. It's incredible, Hayden. Amnesty International this week running stories that they're looking at the shrapnel of the bombs in Yemen, and they're seeing that not only are they coming from Britain, these bombs, but they're coming straight out of the factories of Lockheed Martin and Halliburton and other countries other companies in America. We know that it's absolutely genocide what's happening in Yemen, you know, on the pretext that it's to stop terrorism. It isn't. They're just killing men, women and children there. Mm-hmm. And I just said to you before this clip, and I want to get your opinion on this, we should live, we're told we live in a society that allows you or I or both of us together to take a train to London and to go to Westminster and ask that David Cameron be arrested for war crimes and his cabinet.
Shouldn't even have to go to Westminster.
No, it should be a phone call away.
Any police station in the country should be sufficient to lay charges against another citizen.
Yeah.
Who you believe, or not lay charges, lay an accusation against another citizen who you believe to be culpable or guilty of a crime. And obviously, the severity or the serious nature of that crime should indicate what kind of investigation is undertaken. So yeah, if I say the guy living 2 doors down from me shoots the pigeons off my roof with an air rifle, he doesn't actually, just, you know,
yeah.
That was where he used to live.
Yeah.
I imagine maybe a police officer might pop round within the week to have a look. If I say the guy down the road runs an organisation that has overseen the death of thousands of men, women and children, I'd expect them to be knocking on the door a little quicker. Because if I rang them and said, he's got about £100 worth of weed in that house.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they'll be there in a heartbeat.
The cavalry.
But it's like that whole royal thing earlier. It's that all we're in it together, all that nonsense. That we're not them.
No, mate, we're not.
And I don't mean this is some kind of shapeshiftery kind of deal. We're just not them. We are a different caste.
Yeah.
Because that system's very much the same as India. It's just we don't talk about it. But we're just a different caste. We're the poor. We're
in the not too distant future. I am going to get into. We will explore some of the bloodline stuff because I'm very interested in that. The interbreeding of these families. It's horrendous, mate. It's horrendous that they can get away with it. It's horrendous that the Stop War Coalition can prove that after all the human rights organisations in the world told the British government what was being done with the weapons that they were given to the Saudis, after that, we double the order. That's an accessory after the fact. It's an accessory before the fact. These people are sick and they're evil and they're beyond anything I've ever come across. I'll say this about David. David has always said, people don't believe that these people are capable of what it is that they really do because of two things. One, we're not capable of doing it ourselves. And because we couldn't do it, we can't imagine they could do it. But two, programming through what we see on TV, what we eat, what we drink, what we experience in school, programming has actually worked on limiting the sense of the possible and what we believe is possible. Now, that I leave people make their own mind up on that. We're going to finish today, though, with something that's kind of important. It's a bit, I don't know, I'm reluctant. I'm not the greatest guy in the world for criticising people, but I really want to get into this because I came across a meme on David's website. We have the meme here, Parasite Alert, fake alternative news websites that post headlines designed only to make you click and increase their ad revenue while offering nothing to support the headline. They are a disgrace to everything the genuine alternative media is trying to do. I echo that. I've said this a few times on the radio programme. I'm thinking of yournewswire.com, which is being run by a guy called Sean Adel, who was involved in the People's Voice in London. The People's Voice doesn't exist anymore. Sean Adel would have you believe that it does. It doesn't. It was wound up and it went out of existence because it ran out of money. But using a Facebook page that was built up by some really good people, some really good staff at the People's Voice, he's been directing people to this yournewswire.com site, which is, I'm not picking on Adel, this is just one of them. Before it's news.com, above topsecret.com, there are so many of them, and they are designed using catchy headlines to spread not only disinformation around the internet and utter nonsense, but to get you on there where you will be directed to any number of ads. They pocket a lot of money, these companies, people like these, and they are kind of disgraceful. I know you've got strong opinions on this, my friend. That's why I said I'd leave this to you.
I also feel very hard done by at this point. I can remember one example. It was maybe... Sorry, I'll take these off if I'm talking. I get the...
You're getting the whole lot. You're getting the
echo later on, yeah. It was about 2-3 months ago. There was a video of a nothing video, really. It was some kind of South American fish that gets stuck in people's skin. It swims along and bang, it gets jammed. So the guy who uploaded it, because remember they make their own titles on LiveLeak, we don't do that for them, but fish gets stuck in someone's skin. You know, mega painful. I'm not sure, some flowery description. And I happened to see it was linked to on Facebook, so I had a look, because I don't usually go on the Live Leak Facebook group as a rule. And we were getting some stick. It's only hooked onto this. It's on her pants. It's on the clickbait. They were going crazy.
Right. Yeah.
Fair enough. I don't like clickbait. I understand why it's there. But all these other sites seem to get a free...
Just get a free pass.
And I have to say, the alternative news media is not the worst place. The worst is actually sport. There's one particular football site. It's an ad farm. You know exactly the one I mean.
Yeah.
It's an ad farm. It's amazing. You click on it. They may have the story there. They may not. You will never live long enough to find it.
No. Not before being bombarded by all these ads.
But clickbait is... I don't see the harm in sensationalist headlines for a story, providing it is that story.
Yeah, which is what David is saying.
Because that's part of that's the way the media works. You've got to catch people's attention.
Yeah,
that's the whole reason headlines are in big letters.
It's distressing that people fall for it. Hillary Clinton to be arrested, Hillary Clinton to be indicted for this, all this crap. And
what was it, Alex Jones? I pulled one out of there. Obama's proclamation about something completely unlinked. Anything. Death sentence for 200 million people.
Yeah.
Not economic problems.
Yeah.
Not, we're going to have to talk about this. No, the death of 200 million people. And people react. This is why it's so dangerous. They react to the headline. Because people don't always go to the story. They read the headline.
No, they just share it on. They share it on. These companies get very rich.
200 million. This Muslim in the White House is going to kill 200 million people. And it's self-perpetuating. And of course, that means that the website gets results, like Alex gets results. So his team, because we all know it's not Alex sat there posting.
No. It's a big team.
His team will do it more and more and more and more. Because their goal is to attain as many followers and thumbs up as humanly possible. So it's not going to stop until Alex says, don't do that on my account. The other sites are just going to do it anyway. But let's be honest, anyone, I hate to pick one site out, but if I'm going to, I might as well. I'll pick two, to be fair. Before It's News and Above Top Secret, if you read one of their headlines and go, well, that must be the full story, you know what? Don't worry, just crack on. Just crack on.
Rubbish.
It's all good.
Mate, that's brilliant. I was going to mention, and I will briefly, there are a number of people associated with some of these sites as well who travel around the world and get paid very well to attend conferences. I'm not going to name some of these conferences. You know the ones I'm talking about. And I'm not naming them, not because I'm not, because I'm a coward and I don't want to name them. I'm just fair, me. They're not here to defend themselves. But there are a lot of people in the independent media setting themselves up as independent media celebrities. There can be no progress through the paradigm that we live in. There can be no way out without their involvement. And I find that very distressing as well. It's almost like Comic-Con. They go to these places, turn up, and they prey on very vulnerable people. They don't offer them solutions. They offer them pictures, autographs, come and meet me. I'm the guy who, if there's going to be any solution to the Palestine-Israel thing, well, it's me. I've got to be involved in that. Or if there's going to be a GMO thing, it's got to be me. And these people are dreadful as well. And I just wish people would be a bit more discerning. We leave it at that, will we?
Yeah, because I'm just going to start naming them.
I know, you'll start naming names.
It's a good place to leave it.
It's a good place to leave it. Cheers for your input, mate, as always, and for your production work. That was Season 3, Episode 1 of the Richie Allen TV show in association with BeyondVision.tv. Check it out. davidicke.com/headlines. And I really enjoyed it. Thanks very much for your company. We will do it all again next week. It'll be the 29th of April 2016 next week. Until then, look after yourself. Bye for now.